Imagine you're just going about your day, lost in your phone, when suddenly everything changes in an instant. Car out of control, the screech of tires on the pavement, impact seconds away. But at the last second, a stranger jumps in, risking his life to save yours. He falls beside you, hurt, and as the chaos unfolds around you, he drops a bombshell that turns your world upside down. A buried secret, a lost connection, and a face you never thought you'd see. Suddenly, everything you thought you knew is gone, leaving nothing but questions. Who is this man? Why did he risk everything for you? And what does he know that you don't? In the midst of shock and confusion, secrets from the past start to surface, forcing confrontations with painful truths and unexpected twists. Get ready for a story where every moment pulls you deeper into the unknown, where one chance encounter sets off a series of revelations that will shake the very foundation of what you think you know about your own life. What would you do if you found out that your story, your very origins, far more complicated and closer than you've ever imagined? I was walking down the bustling street, my phone glued to my hand, frantically scrolling through a stream of urgent messages. My mind was wrapped around the chaos of my day, the deadlines, the meetings, the ever-looming responsibilities of adulthood. I barely registered the world around me, just the glow of the screen illuminating my face. Suddenly, a sharp screech of tires cut through my thoughts, snapping me back to reality. I looked up and my heart dropped. A car was barreling towards me, out of control, its driver seemingly oblivious to the chaos unfolding. Time slowed as I stood frozen, paralyzed by fear. "Watch out!" A deep voice echoed through the noise, pulling me from my stupor. I barely had a moment to react before a figure rushed past me. A man, rugged and grizzled, with a face marked by lines of hardship, lunged forward. His strong hands gripped my arm just as the car swerved dangerously close. We tumbled to the ground, the world around us erupting into chaos. The impact was jarring. I felt the rough pavement scrape against my skin, but the adrenaline masked the pain. I looked up to see the man, Alex, struggling to get up. His brow was furrowed in pain, blood seeping from a wound on his arm. "Are you okay?" he gasped, concern flickering in his eyes despite the obvious injury. I could barely find my voice. I think so. You saved me." "I wouldn't let anything happen to you," he said. His voice steady but strained. He winced as he pushed himself up, trying to catch his breath. I couldn't just stand by and watch. As we waited for the ambulance, a whirlwind of emotions swirled within me. I glanced at the man who had just risked his life for me. "Who are you?" I asked, my heart racing. "Why did you help me?" He hesitated, looking out at the street where the chaos was beginning to subside. "I'm someone who has been watching over you for a long time," he finally said, his voice low and heavy with unspoken burdens. The words hung in the air, thick with tension. "What do you mean?" I pressed, feeling a strange connection to him. He shifted his gaze back to me, his eyes dark and intense. "My name is Alex. I'm your biological father." The revelation hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt the world tilt beneath me, the bustling street fading into a blur. "What? That can't be true. My father, he left before I was born. My mom said he didn't want anything to do with us." "I know," he said softly, a deep sadness etched on his face. "I made choices that I regret. I thought it was best for you not to have me in your life. But I never stopped thinking about you. I've wanted to reach out, to be a part of your life." I shook my head in disbelief, clutching my phone as if it were a lifeline. "You expect me to believe that? After all these years, you just show up? How can I trust you?" He pulled out a worn photo from his jacket pocket, handing it to me with shaking hands. "Look at this. It was taken when you were just a baby. I was there, Natalie. I was always there in spirit, even when I wasn't physically present." I took the photo, my breath hitching as I saw a younger version of him holding a tiny swaddled baby. It looked like me. This is me," I stammered, my heart pounding in my chest. "Yes," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I want the chance to know you, be a part of your life if you'll let me." I felt a whirlwind of emotions. Anger, confusion, fear, and a flicker of something I dared not name. Hope. "I don't know if I can just accept this," I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper, my mind racing as I tried to piece together the implications of his words. I sat in the sterile, dimly lit room of the emergency department, Faint beeping of machines surrounding me like an unsettling melody. My heart raced as I stole glances at the bed next to mine, where Alex lay, tangle of bandages and bruises. The chaos of the accident played on a loop in my mind, his rough hands gripping my arm, the screech of tires, the weight of his body as he threw me to safety. He was a stranger, yet somehow he had saved my life. But then he had dropped the bombshell. He was my biological father. I could still see the look in his eyes when he revealed that truth, an intensity mixed with vulnerability. It was a look that both terrified and intrigued me. I reached for my phone, scrolling aimlessly through messages that now seemed trivial compared to the weight of what I had just learned. My mom had always spoken of my father as if he were a ghost, an echo of a distant past. But here was Alex, alive and breathing, and all I could feel was confusion and a swirl of emotions I didn't know how to process. Suddenly, the door swung open, and in stormed Laura, my half-sister. Her face was flushed with anger, her eyes blazing as she caught sight of Alex. "What are you doing here?" she shouted, her voice slicing through the tension in the room. "Laura, wait." I tried to interject, but she was already on a roll. "Don't you dare talk to me. You, of all people, shouldn't be in this room. You've caused enough damage." She pointed an accusatory finger at Alex, who watched her with a mix of resignation and sadness, still trying to catch his breath. "Laura, please," I pleaded, feeling caught in the middle of a storm I didn't know how to navigate. "Just hear him out. He saved my life." "Saved your life?" she scoffed, crossing her arms tightly across her chest. "And now he wants to haunt it? You think he cares about you? He's just here to manipulate you, to wiggle his way back into our lives because he feels guilty. Don't let him fool you, Natalie." "Stop," I exclaimed, my voice rising in frustration. "You don't know him like I do. He's not here to hurt us. He's trying to explain everything." Deep down, I felt the tremor of doubt. Could I trust this man who I had just met? This man who claimed to have been absent from my life for 25 years? Laura took a step back, her face softening but still laced with fury. "You think you can just forget everything he did? He abandoned us, Natalie. He chose to walk away, and now he's back, pretending it's all okay?" "I'm not pretending," Alex interjected, voice low but firm. "I know I've made mistakes, and I'm sorry. I didn't want to hurt either of you, and I understand why you're angry, but I've been living with this regret every single day. I want to make things right." "Make things right?" Laura echoed, incredulous. "You think you can just waltz back in after all these years and make amends? You don't get to just rewrite history, Alex." I watched the exchange, my chest tightening with an aching sense of helplessness. "Laura, please, let's just talk. Let's not do this here." She shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes, but her voice remained steady. "I can't believe you'd even consider listening to him. You were fine before he showed up, and now look at you, lost and confused." "I'm not lost," I shot back, frustration boiling over. "I want to understand who he is and why he left. Isn't that worth exploring?" The silence that followed was thick and heavy, charged with unresolved pain and anger. Laura turned away, her back rigid. "I don't want anything to do with him, Natalie. You're my sister, and I don't want you to get hurt." As she walked away, I felt a pang of guilt and a new layer of complexity woven into our already tangled lives. I had a father, yet the discovery felt like a curse rather than a blessing. The weight of my sister's words lingered in the air, and I was left grappling with the reality of my choices. How could I reconcile my desire to know Alex with the protective instincts that urged me to shield Laura from more hurt? In that moment, I realized that the road ahead would not only be about reconnecting with Alex, it would also be about navigating the fragile bonds of sisterhood, trust, and the scars of an unresolved past. I took a deep breath as I stood outside Alex's modest home, the weight of the past pressing heavily on my chest. It looked small and uninviting, its faded paint and overgrown weeds reflecting a life that seemed to have been lived in shadows. My heart raced with a mix of trepidation and curiosity. This man, this stranger who claimed to be my father, had just stormed into my life and turned everything upside down. What did I even know about him? With a hesitant hand, I knocked on the door, the sound echoing in the stillness. Moments later, Alex opened it. His face was a tapestry of emotions, relief, anxiety, and something else I couldn't quite place. "Hey," he he said softly, his voice rough around the edges. Thanks for coming. I stepped inside, taking in the sparse furnishings and the faint smell of something burnt lingering in the air. I wanted to hear your side. I have so many questions. He nodded, leading me to a small living room cluttered with old photographs and piles of books. I understand. A lot to take in. Please, have a seat. I perched on the edge of a worn-out couch, my fingers nervously tracing the fabric. So you really are my father? Yes, he said, his gaze steady. And I can't express how sorry I am for not being there. I made terrible choices, and I thought it would be better for you if I stayed away. Better? I scoffed, incredulity rising within me. How could abandoning me be better? Alex's face fell, and he ran a hand through his hair, revealing the scars etched into his skin. I know it sounds selfish, but I was a mess. I still am in many ways. I thought that my presence would only bring chaos into your life. Chaos? I echoed, my voice rising. You think I wanted to grow up without knowing my father? I had to listen to my mom's vague stories about a man who never wanted me. I never wanted to hurt you, said, his voice cracking. I just thought, if I stayed away, you'd have a better life. I was wrong. I see that now. I felt my emotions swirling, anger, sadness, confusion. And now, what do you want from me now? Took a deep breath, his eyes earnest. I want to be part of your life, Natalie. I know I can't just waltz in and expect you to accept me, but I want to try. I want to make up for lost time. Make up for lost time? I repeated, incredulity still bubbling inside me. You can't just erase the years I spent wondering who you were. I know, he said softly, but I'm here now. I'm willing to fight for a chance to know you, if you'll let me. What about Laura? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She's your daughter too, and she hates you. You know, I don't blame her, he replied, looking down at the floor. I've hurt her, just like I hurt you, but I want to fix this. I want to be a father, both to you and to Laura. Do you even know how? I challenged, feeling a flicker of hope amidst my anger. He looked me in the eye, determination etched in his features. I'm learning. I've spent too long in darkness, and I'm trying to find my way back into the light. I'm in recovery, trying to be a better man. I want to show you that I can change. The honesty in his voice struck a chord within me. You expect me to just trust you? After everything? No, I don't expect that at all, said, his voice steady. But I hope you'll give me a chance. I want to start from scratch. I want to learn about you, your life, your dreams. Starting from scratch sounds nice, I said, my voice trembling with uncertainty. But it won't be easy. I don't know if I can forgive you for your absence. Alex nodded, understanding the weight of my words. I'm not asking for forgiveness right away. I just want the opportunity to prove that I can be the father you deserve. As the silence hung between us, I felt a flicker of possibility. Maybe, just maybe, there was a path forward, but I also knew it would be fraught with challenges. I took a deep breath, my heart pounding. If we're going to do this, we need boundaries. I can't just dive in blindly. Agreed, he said, relief washing over his face. I'm willing to take it slow, whatever you need. Okay, I whispered, feeling a mix of apprehension and hope. Let's see where this goes. The sterile smell of antiseptic hung heavily in the air as I paced the waiting room, my heart racing with anxiety. Each tick of the clock felt like a countdown, amplifying my fears. Just hours ago, we had been laughing over lunch, and now it felt like the ground had shifted beneath us. I couldn't shake the image of Laura collapsing, her body crumpling like a rag doll, as panic surged through me. Why didn't I notice anything? I whispered to myself, my voice barely audible. The guilt gnawed at me, a relentless reminder of all the times I had taken our relationship for granted. I had been so caught up in the whirlwind of my newfound connection with Alex that I hadn't been there for Laura, my sister. Hey, a soft voice broke through my thoughts. It was Alex, his face pale and lined with worry. I just spoke to the doctor. They're running some tests. She'll be okay, right? I forced a smile, but my heart wasn't in it. I hope so. I wish I had been more present for her. My voice trembled, and I could see the concern etched on Alex's face. You can't blame yourself, Natalie. You didn't know. None of us did, he replied gently, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Laura's strong. Strong? I scoffed, shaking my head. She's been so angry and hurt. I thought it was just about you being here, but what if it's more than that? What if she's been hiding something from me? Alex sighed, his eyes filled with a mix of understanding and concern. She's protective of you. It's normal. But trust me, if you talk to her, she'll open up. The thought of facing Laura made my stomach churn. I could already imagine the resentment in her eyes, the accusations that would fly from her lips. I was torn between wanting to help her and fearing her anger. Just then, a doctor emerged from the corridor, his expression unreadable. Natalie? My heart dropped. Yes, that's me. I rushed forward, my breath hitching in my throat. Your sister is stable now. We're still running tests, but I want to discuss some preliminary findings with you. Felt Alex's presence close behind me, a silent support as I nodded, urging the doctor to continue. Laura has a serious health issue, he said carefully. It appears to be a rare genetic condition. We need to run more tests to confirm, but it could be life-threatening without treatment. What do you mean? I managed to ask, my voice shaking. What kind of treatment? He hesitated, glancing between me and Alex. There are options, but we'll need to discuss them with a specialist. The good news is, if it's what we suspect, there are treatment plans that could be effective. Effective how? Words tumbled out, frantic and desperate. What if she needs a transplant or something? What does that mean for us? Alex's hand tightened on my shoulder, grounding me. We'll figure it out together, Natalie. The doctor nodded. I can't give you all the details without the complete test results, but we'll keep you updated. In the meantime, it's important to support her emotionally. She's gonna need you. Of course, I'll be there for her, I replied, though doubts crept into my mind. Could I really support her if she pushed me away? As the doctor walked away, I turned to Alex. My heart a chaotic mess of emotions. What if she never forgives me? What if I lose her because I was too focused on you? Alex looked at me, his eyes softening. You're not losing her, Natalie. This is a chance for you both to reconnect. You have to believe that. I nodded, but fear still lingered in the back of my mind. I don't want to let her down again. You won't, he assured me. Just be honest with her. That's all you can do. But as I stood there, the weight of our family's fractured relationships pressing down on me, I couldn't shake the feeling that everything was about to change. As the night fell and the shadows lengthened, I found myself sitting across from Alex in his modest living room. The silence between us was heavy, filled with unspoken words and emotions that danced like ghosts in the air. I had come here seeking answers, but now, with Alex's tired eyes locked onto mine, I felt a growing tangle of emotions within me. Curiosity, anger, and an aching desire for connection. Why did you stay away? I finally asked, my voice barely above a whisper. The question hung between us, a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. Alex leaned back in his chair, his gaze drifting to the worn-out carpet beneath us. I thought it would be best, he said slowly, his voice rough around the edges. I had my demons, Natalie. I didn't want to be another burden in your life. I believed that my absence would protect you. Protect me? Echoed, incredulous. You think abandoning me was protection? I grew up with stories of a ghost, a father I could never know. Do you have any idea what that felt like? My heart raced, a mixture of anger and hurt bubbling to the surface. He looked at me, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of vulnerability in his expression. Every day I regretted it, he confessed, his voice thick with emotion. I wanted to reach out, but I feared I'd only bring more chaos into your world. I was afraid of what I might do to you. My breath hitched as I processed his words. You don't get to decide what's best for me. I deserve to know you, to know my father. And now, after 25 years, you show up out of nowhere. Why should I believe anything you say? The walls around my heart were thick, and I was terrified of letting them down. I can't change the past, Natalie replied, his voice steady yet filled with sorrow. But I'm here now, and I want to make things right. I've been trying to get my life together, to be someone worthy of you. I know I have a long way to go, but I've always loved you, even from afar. His words struck me like a thunderbolt, igniting something deep within. You loved me? I asked, barely able to wrap my mind around the concept. How can you say that when you weren't even there? I was there in spirit, he insisted, his eyes pleading for understanding. I watched you grow from a distance. I've seen pictures, heard stories. I wanted to be part of your life, but I didn't know how to face the person I had become. A tear slipped down my cheek, and I quickly brushed it away, angry at myself for showing weakness. It's not that easy, Alex. You can't just waltz back in and expect everything to be fine. I'm not just going to forget all the hurt you've caused. I don't want you to forget, he interrupted softly. I want you to feel it, to understand it. I want to earn your trust, but I know it'll take time. I'm here for the long haul if you'll let me. I sat back, weighing his words. The anger still simmered inside me, but beneath it was a flicker of hope, a desire to connect. What if I'm not ready? I admitted, my voice trembling. What if I never am? Then we take it one step at a time, Alex replied, his tone gentle and patient. I'll be here, no matter how long it takes. I want to be a part of your life, even if it's just in small doses at first. The warmth of his sincerity enveloped me, making the walls I had built around my heart tremble. You talk about wanting to be part of my life, I said, my heart racing. But can you really handle it? Can you be the father I needed? I'm trying, he said, his voice cracking. I'm in recovery, Natalie. I'm fighting my demons every single day. I want to be better for you and for me. I need you to believe in me, even if it's just a little. I took a deep breath, absorbing the weight of his words. It's terrifying. I've spent my whole life feeling abandoned, and now I have to learn how to trust you. I felt vulnerable and exposed, but somewhere deep inside, I wanted to believe him. Trust is earned, I understand that, he said, his eyes never leaving mine. But I promise to give you every reason to trust me. Just let me try. In that moment, something shifted between us. It was fragile and tentative, but it was there. Connection forged from pain and hope. Okay, I said finally, my voice steadying, let's start there. As the day of the gathering approached, I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. I meticulously prepared my small apartment, decorating it with string lights that twinkled like stars in the dim evening light. I wanted it to feel welcoming, a space where we could all reconnect. Myself, Alex, and Laura. I hoped that this would be the moment we could bridge the chasm that had formed between us since Alex's sudden reappearance in our lives. Are you sure about this? Laura had asked earlier that day, her arms crossed defensively over her chest. Her voice was laced with skepticism. You think he's just going to waltz in here and everything will be fine? It doesn't work like that, Nat. I sighed, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. I know it won't be easy, Laura, but we need to try. We can't keep avoiding each other. This is our chance to at least talk. She rolled her eyes, her dark hair falling over one shoulder. Talk? Or let him manipulate you again? It's not manipulation, I shot back, the heat of my words surprising even me. He's trying to be part of our lives. Don't you see that? He wants to make amends. Laura huffed, shaking her head. I'll believe it when I see it. As the doorbell chimed, I felt my heart race. I opened the door to find Alex standing there, looking a bit nervous in a simple button-up shirt that seemed a size too big for him. He caught my eye and offered a tentative smile. Hey, Natalie, thanks for inviting me. Of course, I replied, stepping aside to let him in. Laura is here too. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I understand, he said, glancing around the living room before settling his gaze on me. Nice. Cozy. Thanks. I thought we could just, relax and talk. I gestured toward the snacks laid out on the coffee table. I made some food. I hope you're hungry. As the evening progressed, I could feel the tension thickening in the air. Laura entered cautiously, her expression a mix of defiance and curiosity. She avoided Alex's gaze, opting instead to focus on the snacks. I'm not hungry, she declared, crossing her arms. Laura, come on, I pleaded. Just sit down. We're all here to... Puck, she interrupted sharply. You mean let him spin his web of lies and deceit? Alex shifted uncomfortably, his brow furrowed. I'm not here to deceive anyone, Laura. I'm just trying to... Trying to what? She snapped, finally looking at him. Trying to play the good father? You think a few words are enough to erase the years you've missed? Laura, I said softly, trying to diffuse the situation. Let him speak. Alex took a deep breath, his voice steady but filled with emotion. I know I've made mistakes. I can't change the past, but I want to be here for both of you now. I want to build a relationship, if you'll let me. Why should I trust you? Laura shot back, her voice trembling with frustration. You've done nothing but abandon us. What makes you think this time will be different? I know I don't deserve your trust, he admitted, his eyes pleading. But I'm trying to change. I'm in recovery, and I'm committed to being a better person. I want to be part of your lives, not just for Natalie, but for you too, Laura. I don't need a father, Laura said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet laced with defiance. I've done just fine without you. I watched the exchange, my heart aching for both of them. I wanted to reach out and bridge the gap between father and daughter, but the walls were up, and I could feel the strain. Laura, please, I said, my voice trembling with urgency. Can't we at least try to have a conversation? Just one night where we don't focus on the past? Before Laura could respond, Alex attempted to break through the tension. How about we start fresh? No expectations, just honesty? She scoffed, her eyes narrowing. Honesty? You mean your version of honesty? That's rich. I could feel the air crackling with tension as Alex's frustration mounted. I'm not asking for a warm welcome. I just want a chance to prove myself. I'm here, and I want to make things right. As I stood there, the weight of their emotions pressing down on me, I realized I had to find a way to help them see each other, to understand the pain that had led us all to this moment. But for now, the evening hung heavy with unspoken words, and I could only hope that somewhere beneath the surface, a bridge could be built. The air in the room felt thick with tension as I tried to process what had just happened. My heart raced furiously. I could feel the weight of everyone's gaze on me as I stood frozen. My childhood friend, Derek, had just revealed a truth that shook the very foundation of the fragile bonds I was trying to rebuild with Alex and Laura. I knew Alex before you did, he had said nonchalantly, tossing the words into the air like a lit match on a pile of dry leaves. How could you not tell me this before? I blurted out, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and disbelief. I felt the heat rising in my cheeks, and the room seemed to close in around me, the walls echoing with my own feelings of betrayal. You knew him? And you didn't think it was important? I thought you were better off not knowing, Nat, Derek replied, his tone defensive, almost apologetic. It's not my place to air everyone's dirty laundry. Dirty laundry? Shot back, incredulous. This isn't just gossip, Derek. This is my life. I'm trying to figure out who I am, and you just dropped this bombshell in front of everyone? I felt Laura's eyes on me, sharp and assessing, and I could sense her internal struggle. She was standing a few steps away, arms crossed tight over her chest. In that moment, the tension between us felt palpable, and I could see the narrative shifting. I turned to Laura, ready to confront the resentment that had been bubbling just beneath the surface. Are you really going to stand there and act like you're not affected by this? You've had your doubts about him all along, and now it's all coming to a head. Laura's expression hardened, and her eyes blazed with indignation. You think I'm upset because of what Derek said? I'm upset because you seem willing to just forget everything he's done. He's not a father, Natalie. He's a stranger who waltzed back into our lives and expects us to just accept. Maybe he's trying to change, countered, feeling the heat of the argument rising. You don't know what he's been through. You don't know what it's like to live with that kind of pain. Pain? Laura scoffed, shaking her head. You think I'm going to pity him? He made choices, Natalie, choices that hurt us. And now you want me to welcome him with open arms? Just because he's suddenly interested? It's not just about him, I shouted, frustration coursing through my veins. It's about us. We're in this together, whether you like it or not. At that moment, Alex stepped forward, voice calm yet firm. Can we all just sit down and talk about this? I know emotions are running high, but I think we need to address what just happened. It's too important to ignore. I looked at him, my heart torn. I knew he was right, but the anger still simmered beneath the surface. Talk? About what? About how you've been a ghost in my life until now? About how I have to accept you as my father after all this time? I'm not asking for your forgiveness, Alex replied, his voice steady, yet the pain in his eyes was evident. But I'm here now, and I want to make things right. I don't expect it to happen overnight, but I need you both to understand that I want to be part of this family, however broken it may be. Emily? Laura spat, word dripping with sarcasm. You think you can just come in and play the part of the doting father? It doesn't work like that. Laura, please, I interjected, feeling the need to diffuse the situation. Let's just hear him out. We can't make any decisions based on anger and resentment. We need to be honest with each other. Alex nodded, a look of gratitude washing over his face. I'm not here to replace anyone or erase the past. I just want a chance to show you who I am now. Can we try to have an honest conversation? Laura hesitated, her gaze shifting from me to Alex and back again. I could see the battle within her, the love for her family clashing with the fear of being hurt again. Fine, she finally said, albeit reluctantly. But this doesn't mean I trust you. Not yet. I took a deep breath, feeling a glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil. That's all I'm asking for. Let's talk. Let's be honest. And let's try to heal together. As we settled into what felt like the beginning of a long and arduous conversation, I couldn't help but wonder if this was the first step toward the family I had always dreamed of, or just another pitfall on the road to healing. As the atmosphere in the room shifted, I felt a palpable tension, like static electricity dancing in the air. Alex stood before me, a man I barely knew yet, inexplicably drawn to. His hands trembled slightly as he reached into his pocket, and my heart raced, unsure of what he would pull out. When he revealed an old yellowed envelope, my curiosity piqued. This, he said, his voice low and filled with emotion, is something I've held onto for years. He took a deep breath, his eyes locking onto mine. It's a letter I wrote the day you were born. I never had the courage to send it. I felt a lump forming in my throat as I took the envelope from his hand. It felt heavy, not just with age, but with the weight of unspoken words and lost time. I gently opened it, revealing neatly folded pages. As I unfolded the paper, the familiar scent of old ink wafted up, mingling with my swirling emotions. Dear Natalie, I read aloud, my voice trembling as I began. From the moment I heard your first cry, my heart was torn. I was scared, lost, and made choices that pushed me away from you. I want you to know that you were loved deeply, even from a distance. I wished to be the father you deserved, a man who could guide and protect you. But I thought leaving would be better, that I was saving you from my chaos. My eyes misted over as I processed his words. They were raw and honest, filled with sorrow and regret. I glanced up at Alex, seeing the pain etched on his face. Why didn't you ever send this? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I was afraid, he admitted, his gaze dropping to the floor. Afraid that you would hate me for what I did, for disappearing from your life. I thought it was best for you to grow up without me. I was wrong. I see that now. I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his confession. It hurts to hear you say that, Alex. I've spent my entire life wondering about you, about why you chose to leave. He took a step closer, his voice earnest. I didn't choose to leave you. I thought I was protecting you. But I realize now that in doing so, I only hurt you more. I wish I could change the past, Natalie. I wish I could have been there for you. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I processed the truth of his words. I always wanted to know you, understand why you weren't there, but now I don't know how to feel. Suddenly, I felt a presence beside me. Laura stood there, her expression a mixture of anger and confusion. What's going on? She demanded, her voice sharp. What did he say to you? I wiped my tears, feeling vulnerable and exposed. He wrote me a letter, Laura, a letter about how he felt when I was born. Laura's eyes narrowed, her arms crossed defensively. And you believe him? After everything he's done? Laura, it's not about just believing him, I replied, frustration bubbling within me. It's about understanding the pain we've all been through. We need to communicate, to share what we feel. Communicate? She scoffed. You mean let him manipulate you into thinking that everything's fine? It's just a ghost from our past, Natalie. Don't let him rewrite our story. Alex stepped forward, his voice steady but gentle. Laura, I know I don't have the right to ask for your forgiveness, but I want to make things right. I'm here now, and I want to be a part of your lives, to be the father you both deserve. I looked at Laura, her expression softening just a fraction. It's not that easy, Alex. You can't just waltz back in and expect everything to be okay. I know that, he said, his voice filled with sincerity, but I'm willing to fight for it. I want to earn your trust, both of you. It starts with honesty, and I'm here to share everything, my mistakes, my regrets, and my hopes for the future. As I absorbed his words, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. Perhaps this was the beginning of something new, chance to heal together. I turned back to Alex. my heart racing. Then let's talk. Let's figure this out together. We've all been hurt, but maybe we can find a way to rebuild. Laura hesitated, glancing between us, torn between her anger and the possibility of reconciliation. I don't know if I can trust you, Alex, she finally said, her voice softening, but I don't want to lose Natalie either. In that moment, I knew we stood at a crossroads. Path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, I felt the weight of our shared pain beginning to lift, replaced by the fragile threads of connection and hope. As we walked through the park, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over the vibrant autumn leaves. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of earth preparing for winter. I felt a strange mix of hope and dread coursing through me as I walked beside Alex and Laura. We were trying to visualize a future together, a concept that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Can you imagine it? I asked, glancing at Alex. A family dinner with all of us sitting around the table? Feels surreal. I couldn't help but smile at the thought. It does, Alex replied, his voice soft but steady. I've dreamed of that moment for so long, but it feels like a distant fantasy. I want to make it real. I want to be a part of your lives. He looked at me earnestly, his brown eyes reflecting the sincerity of his words. Laura, walking a little ahead of us, paused and turned around, her expression a mixture of skepticism and curiosity. You say that now, but what if you slip up? What if you decide to leave again? Her words cut through the air, heavy with the pain of our shared history. I know I can't change the past, Laura, Alex said, his tone firm yet gentle. But I'm in recovery, and I'm determined to stay sober. I want to be the father you both deserve. I'm not going anywhere this time. I felt a rush of emotions as I listened to him. There was a flicker of hope igniting in my chest, but it was quickly followed by the nagging worry that this was just another empty promise. What does that look like for us, though? I asked, searching his face for answers. I mean, how do we move from here? Alex took a deep breath, brow furrowing as he chose his words carefully. I think it starts with honesty. Ted, we all need to communicate. I'm willing to share my past, the mistakes I made, and what I've learned. I want to hear what you both want too. Laura rolled her eyes, crossing her arms tightly over her chest. You say that, but it's easy to talk about honesty. It's much harder to live it. How do I know you won't just disappear again when things get tough? I could see the tension rising between them, and it made my heart ache. Laura, I get it. I really do, I said, stepping closer to her. We're all scared, but we have a chance here to start fresh. Can't we at least try? Trying is all I've done my whole life. Laura shot back, her voice rising. And look where that got me. You two might think this is a new beginning, but it feels like I'm the only one who's still on the outside looking in. Laura, you're not on the outside, I said, my voice trembling slightly. You're my sister. You're my family. We're in this together, all of us. I reached for her hand, hoping that a simple touch could bridge the divide between us. As she looked at me, her expression softened just a little. I want to believe that, Natalie. I really do. I turned to Alex, feeling the weight of the moment. What about you, Dad? What do you really want from this? From us? He paused, considering my question. I want to build trust, he replied finally. I know it won't happen overnight, but I'm willing to put in the work. I want both of you to feel safe with me. I want to be here for you. Safe, Laura echoed, shaking her head. That's a big word. I just don't know how to trust someone who's hurt us before. Alex nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. I can't ask you to trust me blindly. All I can do is show you through my actions. I'll be here, day in and day out. Promise. As we continued our walk, the leaves crunched beneath our feet, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing at the edge of something monumental. Past loomed behind us, but the future was a blank canvas waiting to be painted with our choices. I could feel the tension in the air shift, possibility of healing beginning to take root. Okay, I said, determination flooding my voice. Let's make a pact. We'll be honest, we'll communicate, and we'll show up for one another, together. Together, Alex and Laura echoed, and for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope that we might just find our way through the darkness as a family. The air in the hospital was thick with anxiety as I paced the waiting room, my heart racing with fear. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a harsh glow on the faces of my family members who were just as apprehensive as I was. Laura had collapsed during our family outing, her body crumpling to the ground like a fragile doll. And now we were all here, waiting for news. My mind raced back to the moments we had shared. Our tense conversations, the unsaid words lingering in the air, and the fragile threads that connected us, now threatened by an unseen enemy. "Why is it taking so long?" I whispered to Alex, who sat beside me, his brow furrowed with worry. He looked older than his years, the weight of past mistakes evident in the deep lines etched into his face. "I don't know, Natalie," he replied, running a hand through his hair. "But we have to believe she's strong. Laura's always been a fighter." Just then, the double doors swung open, and a doctor stepped through, his expression serious. My heart dropped as I stood up, my palms clammy against my jeans. I could feel Alex tense beside me, body rigid, ready to absorb whatever news was about to come. "Family of Laura Collins?" The doctor called, his voice steady but filled with an undertone of concern. "That's us," I exclaimed, rushing toward him. "Laura is stable now, but we need to discuss her condition," he said, gesturing for us to follow him to a quieter area. The way he spoke sent chills down my spine. I knew that meant it wasn't good. As we sat down in the small conference room, I felt a lump form in my throat. "What's wrong with her?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, my hands trembling in my lap. Doctor took a deep breath. "Laura has a rare genetic condition that can be life-threatening if not treated properly. We'll need to run further tests and start her on a treatment plan immediately." "Genetic condition?" Alex echoed, his voice a mixture of confusion and concern. "What does that mean for us?" "It means that, if she doesn't receive treatment, her situation could worsen significantly," he explained. "However, there is a potential solution. Given your family history, Mr. Collins, you might be a compatible donor for a procedure that could save her life." A heavy silence fell over us as the weight of the doctor's words settled in. I glanced at Alex, who was staring at the doctor, his expression unreadable. "What do you mean, a donor?" he finally asked, struggling to process the implications. "Treatment involves a procedure that requires a compatible donor, specifically a bone marrow transplant," the doctor clarified. "Given your genetic connections, it's possible that you could be a match." My heart raced as a new realization dawned on me. "Wait, are you saying?" I stammered, my voice trembling. "Yes," the doctor replied gently. "The two of you share a biological connection, which makes this a viable option." I felt the world tilt beneath my feet. "What do you mean, share a connection?" I asked, confusion swirling in my mind. "Laura and you have the same biological mother, and Alex is your biological father," he stated, his voice steady as he delivered the shocking news. I could hardly breathe. "What? How is that possible?" I felt the walls closing in around me, my mind racing to process the implications of his words. Alex looked equally stunned. "I didn't know," he said quietly, his eyes wide with disbelief. "I thought Natalie was the only one." I turned to Alex, my voice rising with emotion. "You kept this from me? You knew all along?" "I didn't know until now," Alex replied, desperation creeping into his tone. "I swear, Natalie, I had no idea Laura was involved. I thought you were the only one. I thought you were safe." Tears stung my eyes as I tried to comprehend this new reality. "So we're all tied together by blood?" I whispered, my voice breaking. "How could we not have known?" Doctor nodded, his gaze sympathetic. "It's not uncommon for families to be unaware of such connections, especially in complex situations like yours. But now you have the chance to act, to save her life." As I absorbed the gravity of the moment, a wave of determination washed over me. "We can't let her go through this alone. We'll fight for her," I declared, looking at both Alex and the doctor. "Whatever it takes." Alex nodded, his resolve evident. "I'll do whatever I can. I won't lose her again." In that moment, amidst the pain and uncertainty, we found a common purpose. We were bound by secrets, hurt, and now hope. Together we would face the challenges ahead, united by love and the desire to heal the wounds of our past. Think you've heard it all? Wait till you meet Michael Carter. Imagine finding a hidden letter that flips your whole world upside down. Michael grew up knowing almost nothing about his dad, but when he stumbles on those hidden words in the dusty attic of his childhood home, he uncovers secrets that could change everything. Who was his dad, really? What truths were buried? To find out how this journey of revelations and secrets impacts Michael, click on the video popping up on your screen. You don't want to miss this story.